this life is a trade-off of freedom versus comfort. Everything in life is security and comfort versus freedom. You guys live in nice houses, you have all the comforts, you have very limited freedom. There's a continuum of people who live in vehicles. There are the homeless, and right now in America there are a lot of those who are just cannot, they lost their job, and then they lost their house, and then they've lost their apartment. They're in their cars because they have absolutely no choice. They are homeless. And then there are people such as myself and Sherry and lots of other people you're going to meet who choose to live in their vehicles, and then there are traditional RVers who can live in $10,000 RVs or $1 million RVs. And there's a continuum of people who live in a vehicle. I think the key difference is a homeless person doesn't want to live in his vehicle. He isn't escaping the rat race. He doesn't hate the rat race. He hates living in his car or his van. He wants to get out of it as soon as he possibly can. That's a homeless person. I love living in a van or the camper or a vehicle. I love it. I don't want to ever live any other way. So I don't think of myself as homeless. A person who hates it is homeless.
Starting off at a mere $55 million.
Yes, in the conventional sense, we're homeless because we don't have a wooden box around us. Instead, ours is metal. But yeah, I mean, realistically, it doesn't bother us at all, and we've in a lot of ways kind of found certain connections to those who are homeless. When we see people walking around and looking for somewhere to sleep in the middle of a city, I feel a bit more like we can connect with them more now than what we were able to before, just going through the life of day to day without a plan and not exactly knowing where we are going to sleep.
I think that it's a cultural pit that we're falling into. The advertisers make us feel incomplete without a new car, and that's a lot of money. But the biggest killer is housing. The average American spends 47% of his take-home pay for a roof over his head. Whoa, that's a crime almost. People grossly overestimate what they need. This trailer is 22 feet long, and it has everything that a person would need. It's satellite TV here, and this is internet access, and that's satellite radio, and I have solar panels on the roof, which deliver me all the power I could possibly use, and it costs about nothing.
So there's a reason that's happening, that we're sold that bill of goods through our media, and you'll have a better girlfriend, you'll have a better life if you have this, making more money, and we're fine. I think that illusion of separation, that veil is lifting, and people are saying, we're seeing, no, it's not getting me a better life. My whole retirement is gone like that. And what a better life is actually living a better life, using each moment to embrace that stuff that gives you joy, gives you excitement, a sense of adventure, a sense of connection, a sense of meaning, a sense of connection to your own self and life.
Sharp new warning of all-out war. For the first time, the mysterious and secretive nation has threatened a preemptive nuclear strike against the U.S.
New concerns tonight from parents and critics questioning just how safe are our kids in school buses.
It's an urgent warning about skin cancer prompted by a 200% increase since the 1970s.
A new study says pedestrians risk injury and even death when using their cell phones.
I think it is unquestionable that quite a bit of our society is oriented toward keeping us in a either very distracted state or very worried state. You know, when I first hit the road, it took me weeks to decompress, you know. And initially, I didn't even know what the heck to do throughout the day. You know, there was no schedule anymore. There was no requirement to be anywhere. It was hard to do that. A lot of our culture and society is focused on distracting you from whatever you might want to think about. They don't want you to think. And keeping you worried is one of the ways to do that, to me. I think that the more someone is worried about what could go wrong, the less they will think about what is going wrong. I've felt that way for quite a while.
Behind me is my pickup and the trailer, and I live in that trailer now. It's bigger than the pickup. The pickup was tiny. It was 6 foot by 7 foot, which is taller. I think an average bathroom in an American home is bigger than 6 foot by 7 foot. So imagine moving into your bathroom. That's what I lived in, and loved it. Loved every minute of it. I'd live in it again tomorrow.
Started out in the car business a few years ago. Really decided that we kind of had been going the wrong direction. We were working really hard for a lot of the wrong things. Started working for a lot of money, a lot of possessions, bigger house, nicer car, all those types of things. And then basically the car business kind of took a dive with the recession and forced a big re-examination on our parts. So yeah, at that point we kind of just had to really look at what was important to us and where we wanted to go as far as the direction in our life, and that's what kind of led us this direction. We decided this made us a lot happier than selling cars and working tons of hours and just trying to get a nicer TV and a bigger car.
I'd been retired for a couple years already. I retired when I was 59, and so I got this big old house in Vermont, and look around and what do I do now? I mean, I was selling antiques. I had a business, so I could do that. But what else? You know, I have friends, but everybody's busy in their own little spaces and their own little lives. And I used to be a vagabond when I was younger. Did the hippie 1970s back to the land hippie movement for about 12 years. So I said, I think I'll go do that. I'll get myself an RV and just take off and enjoy. Do whatever. Keep moving. Keep moving.
I will be emailing Howard to demand you get a raise. Thank you. Can you please give us a shout out on your show? Thanks. With much love and respect. These names are.
In 1995, I was going through a divorce, and I lived in Anchorage, Alaska. And after the divorce is expensive, and I paid alimony and child support, and no quibbles with that. I thought it was all reasonable. I couldn't afford to live. I literally could not afford to rent an apartment and buy food to eat. So one or the other, I was going to eat, and I was going to eat. And I was on my way to work one day, and I drove by this parking lot that I'd driven by before, seen it many times. Had a big green box fan sitting in front. It was a contractor, and box fans have a van nose, just like any other van, and a big box in back. This box was 8 foot by 12 foot. And one day I drove by there and thought, I could live in that box van.
do you say, stranger?
How you doing?
Good.
You guys are still alive, huh?
Yeah, look at you.
My life had gone downhill a long ways. I lost my wife and then lost my health and lost my business and, health costs and everything else. So I went from the nice house with the picket fence on the hill, the wife, and I was married for over 20 years to her, and business owner, small trucking company, and, things just went downhill. I had a stroke and then, just everything. Diabetes hit me. So I found myself renting a room in this crazy person's house and just couldn't stand it anymore. I walked out the back door down at that place I was renting the room at, and I saw the van there, and I'm thinking to myself, God, I could live in that. I could really, I've done worse. I was in the military and I was an airborne ranger and, drank worse water and slept in worse places. So, yeah, I just made a home out of it.
In 2008, I retired and needed something to do, and I don't have a lot of retirement, so 2009, I just took off in my first little van. It was a little 2000 Dodge Caravan. Spent 3 months just wandering in it. Decided that I needed something bigger. Got this, and it's just a fun life.
I think this is really good for the caravan because friends do come and go, and they touch our lives, and we'll always remember them.
Friends will come and friends will go, leaving their footprints to melt in the straw. And all to the joy and let go of the pain, all with a promise of change. It's you does the choosing. It's you does the choosing.
I detested what I did. I was putting people in jail. I made 300 arrests during my brief career, and it's an awful, awful thing. But I only did it for about 5 years, and then I read that book right there. And this book changed my life because it says, why would you work all of your life to have a little bit of freedom at the end of your life when, if you could live efficiently, then you could adventure on life now. So I gave it a shot, traveled a while, came back and decided, how much money would I need to do this permanently? And that was back in the 70s, I think. And I decided the answer was 100 grand. So how hard is it to get 100 grand together? It's not that hard, especially whenever if you really clamp down on your expenses. I began to save everything, this, that, and the other. I bought an old junker of a house and fixed it up, sold it, and bought another one, fixed it up and sold it. And by that time, I almost had my 100 grand.
I had a fire, and it wasn't my house that burned down, it was my life. And everything that I held dear and precious pretty much vanished in a wink of an eye. So I decided that I've always liked to RV. I have full-time in the past before. That because I was just brokenhearted actually, that I would go on the road and become a full-timer for at least the foreseeable future on a quest that I call What Would Love Do? So when your life burns down, how do you recover from that? And to really simplify things the way Thoreau did when he went to Walden, to just get to the essential things. What was the real marrow of life? And to be able to go on a vision quest that would give me the what next. What would I do for a living? How would I make a living, make a life with my passion, purpose, all of it, relationship, just everything had to be, for me, rebuilt.
I was working with the city of Chandler, down in the Phoenix area. Had been there for 9 years, 2 years from early retirement, and in a series of months, my life kind of imploded on me. My father passed away. had other sickness in the family and that kind of thing. And I decided, look, I'm spending all my time doing a job which I'm not happy with and feel more like a indentured servant than an individual or an employee. And using the example of my father, he went through and worked with Las Vegas Fire Department as a dispatcher. Finally got to the point of retiring. Within 2 years, he was dead. It's like, okay, do I want to spend my life doing something that just makes me miserable for the sake of this is what society tells me I'm supposed to do, with no possible payoff, beyond going home to watch TV at night? And I'm like, no, I don't. It's time for me to make a change.
I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to go to the bathroom. I didn't know how to... The basics of life, which we all take for granted. You flip on the switch at night, you turn on the heat, you turn on the air conditioning, you go to the bathroom, you lift the lid, and you go to the toilet. Those are all... I just all take those for granted. Well, those were all gone. There was no lid, there was no light switch, there was no heat, there was no bed, there was no nothing.
There's always that question of, what the hell are you doing, Steve? Really, here I'm in the middle of the high desert. I'm turning 50. I'm asking myself, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, we set the temperature right around 90 in the house during the...
6 months prior to actually leaving.
Set it at 90 during the hot months and about 60 during the cold months. So it kept the bills low and helped us to actually, be able to save money, and then definitely helped us acclimate to living in the van. Some of the other things we did was change our eating habits. Obviously, we tried to stop eating out near as much. That saved a lot of money. Shifted a lot of our diet to grains and veggies, more or less. Went mostly vegetarian with our diet because it A, saved money, and B, it helped us lose a lot of weight, and just kind of get used to the type of way that we'd be eating. We don't carry a cooler, we don't carry a refrigerator, so being used to just eating grains and vegetables and that type of thing was a good way to go, and helped us not to have like major dietary adjustments.
Now first, into the pan, we need a little flour. Watch this, kids. This is how we do it. Flour, and then we crack in an egg, put a little bit of milk, and this, kids, selected special ingredients for the cream filling. Now we put all the things in. Just a cook. Yes, sir. Mix it up nice. And then watch. Aha! Has to take just a second or two before we say alakazam, presto, and what do we have? Ha-ha! Hostess Twinkies.
It seems to me so wrong that the Industrial Revolution can punch out gadgets, 1 million Twinkies in a day if it needed. There's enough Twinkies for everybody, and it's all done by machinery. The fruits of the Industrial Revolution ought to be liberty. And in that liberty, people have a chance to discover who they really are. I mean, I see people's personality bloom and blossom. I see creativity pouring out of people like this. Not everybody who does this is creative, but many are. And the heroes are. They're out there writing, and it just is one of those amazing coincidences that the thing that is the most fun in the world to do happens to be incredibly cheap and incredibly beneficent. It's good news for people. We consume less. I personally think that there's at least 1 million people in the United States today that ought to be free, and they're not. They think they need $1 million in the banks before they can win their liberty. But the truth is, if you got an income stream of $500 a month after you get your rig, you can live this life and be free and do the world a favor while you're at it, because your consumption will go way down.
I got a fever and inflammation, that's what I got. You turn the heat on me, something like that.
For as long as I can remember, from the youngest age, especially through TV, you are fed these images that you need this. You have to have this. You can't be happy unless you have this. If you go out and you buy this car, this girl's going to really like you. All that kind of thing. Whether we need it or not, we're told to go out and buy things. And I think that gets really deep-seated in some folks, and I'm one of them. I don't know if it's part of an obsessive nature or an addictive nature or something along those lines. But something was there, and I don't think it's just me. I think it's a cultural thing.
Take a step back. Back up a little bit. Back up, guys.
I don't have the Best Buy cards, but I do have a credit card, and I've got cash too. Let me try. Let's see if my credit card still works. It'll be really embarrassing if it doesn't go through.
As we work with Congress in the coming year to chart a new course in Iraq and strengthen our military to meet the challenges of the 21st century, we must also work together to achieve important goals for the American people here at home. This work begins with keeping our economy growing. And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
And you have to look at why we have these values in the first place, in the sense of social control. There's a reason why the government wants us spending 9 to 5 working or more than that, because it doesn't give us a lot of time to do anything but our shopping and our laundry, to look at maybe how society could be better. And as long as we are being controlled by that, there's no room to uprise or shift things in a loving way or in any other way, because you're just totally worn out from struggling for the legal tender.
How much does anybody need? Society tells us we need all this stuff. We need to go buy something new.
I think there's a class of people who really want you to consume and spend, and they're at the top of the money pyramid. And the way, however, to deal with rich and predatory people really is not to put them in jail or steal their money, it's simply to live frugally. They got no grip on me.
This might be one of my favorite places. I mean, it's this big open area, and yet these huge trees all around it. Really like the feel of this spot. I've been living on the national forests in the summer and BLM desert land. BLM stands for Bureau of Land Management. Out west, there's a huge amount of land that's worthless. You drive by and there's nothing there, and you think, who owns this? Well, probably the federal government owns it. The ranchers and the state turns it over to them, then they don't have to pay taxes, but the ranchers can get a permit and run their cattle on it. So they got free range and there are no taxes. So it works good for everybody. And the government owns the land.
And the real truth is that there's vast spaces, the national forest, the BLM land, almost all of Nevada, you can camp on free because it's owned by the Bureau of Land Management. And it's so incredibly easy. There's plenty of room. And furthermore, small town America is now opening itself they want us to come in and camp free. The tiny little town of Quartzsite decided to open itself up some years back, and lo and behold, it is now rich. They don't know what to do with all the money that they get, because 100,000 people converges on that town for 2 months out of the year. And other towns have welcomed us in. I've taken caravans and gone to the mayor of the town, and little small, especially ghost towns that are dying, they'd welcome us in. The long and the short of it is there's plenty of room in plenty of places, and demand will keep up with supply, in my humble opinion. Call me an optimist.
there's more places to park than maybe what we give ourselves credit for. That's kind of been, we've definitely spent a number of nights where we're just driving around looking, trying to find somewhere that feels right and just can't find anywhere that feels right. There's kind of some go-to places where you find that people actually do park overnight pretty consistently. So hotels are good places, hospital parking lots are actually good places, mechanics parking lots, it's pretty common for people to leave a vehicle parked overnight if they're having car troubles. And then definitely just pulling into neighborhoods, or if we're on the road, rest stops, truck stops, those types of things.
You have to be a little careful and make sure there are other people spending the night, because a lot of places are very, very illegal.
It is illegal in Albuquerque to live out of your parked car. So how do so many people get away with it?
During the recession, a lot of folks lost their homes, they lost their jobs, and were forced to move out from their apartments and suddenly began living in their cars or their RVs parked on city streets. And people who lived on those streets began to complain. So Los Angeles began enforcing a law that said it was illegal to live in your car.
I've recently lost my job, my wife, and my house. Now I live in an RV in a commercial zone. Please don't criminalize me.
You see someone like that sitting around, you don't know what their frame of mind is, so I guess that's why you should have a actual dwelling where you live, is, people don't know who it is. And
have you bothered to stop and talk with him and ask him who he is?
No, I haven't. I've waved at him once.
Laws against sleeping in public or sleeping in a parked car are called, quote, quality of life laws, but they are obviously not concerned with actually the quality of life of the poor or the homeless. They seem to be more focused on the quality of life of the rich elite who live in that area.
It's hard for me to be stealthy. I can pull in my truck and fit right in at an industrial park or at a strip mall or at a Home Depot, but you don't look really stealthy if all of a sudden you're coming out the front door with a dog on a leash. So I try not to do a lot of that. I'll be in the area, but I won't necessarily be just in town. If I didn't have her, I've thought about doing that full time. With my truck, I've got solar panels up on the roof. I've got 1,200 amp hours of battery storage, which is enough to run my laptop for 14 hours a day. I could easily do that, but not with a dog.
I guess I'm woodland stealth. It's weird. It's a feeling in me that there's too many people up here, and too many people attract attention, and the only attention that we can get is bad attention, and that's what scares me. But as long as they stay undercover, pretty much good, I hope, because I want to come back here.
I feel that it's very likely that there will be additional pressures put on people who are living unconventionally like this. But unless there are viable alternatives for people, they are not going to be able to throttle it or put a stop to it. Yes, I expect municipalities and city councils to put in ordinances which prohibit sleeping in your vehicle, which already happens, and to try to crack down on the unsavory elements of society. I don't think that long term they're going to be able to do anything about it, because the numbers of people without options are going to grow until eventually they're going to have to listen. It's not a good thing. I don't like where a lot of things in our society are going right now. Not everybody wants to have a house. Some places are friendly to the homeless. Some people are extremely unfriendly to the homeless. It's going to take its own kind of pressure with mobile dwellers to do the same type of thing.
We are the sprouting seed of a brand new breed, living simple and light and lean, living happy and free like wild Cherokee in our cozy little living machines. A life that is bold with ourselves in control, and with clusters of friends in affection, we're reinventing the tribe, helping revive that long-lost natural connection, choosing sunlight's glow over ice and snow, acceptance over sorrow, adventurous games over riches and fame, and today over iffy tomorrow.
Perfect to go with that song too.
Thank you.
I find there's, to generalize, there's two sorts of people. Some people like money and some people like things. People that like things don't have any money. People that like money don't have a lot of things. You know, unless you're really rich, but you know. So, and I was always on the more, I'd rather have the money than the stuff, because money buys me freedom. Freedom of choices, freedom of movement, freedom to do what I want to do. So now I've got, from selling all that stuff, I got that money in the bank. I have freedom.
You know, somehow we all found out that money wasn't the solution. You know, you need it. There's a certain sense of security. I would hate not to be the person in the car that doesn't know where to park or is just really doesn't know where to get their next meal. There's a huge world of difference.
It's a mental illness now. I believe that even for an average person, it's become to some degree a mental illness. They surround themselves with possessions because life is so insecure that their possessions become their security. Their house becomes their castle with a moat around it. And a lot of people can't do without that security blanket.
I think you can have a car and make it last 10 years. I personally own 1,000 books, and they're stored at my friend's house, and now you can put 1,000 books on the Kindle that he has. And so I think the technology itself is making it possible that we don't need so much stuff. You know, television sets are flat and get against the wall, and tiny things. So I believe we do more with less, as Buckminster Fuller always says. And I believe we can have the good stuff. I mean, it amazes me that for $35 a month, I'm in touch with everybody in the world. Furthermore, 5 of my friends are with me on that, you know, just for this little device, $1 a day, you know, more or less. Isn't that a miracle? I mean, I don't need big stuff, you know, and the computer lasts a long time.
I've been a pack rat all my life. And some of the items that I had, there's no way I could bring them on the road. Like I probably had close to 1,000 LPs. And that's wonderful to walk into my audio room and see all these racks and shelves of albums and probably another 800 or 900 books. You know, a lot of them are hardbounds. There's no way you can bring that kind of thing on the road. I had, prior to getting into the house that I ended up losing and giving back to the bank, I was in a condo. It was only 1,000 square feet, and even then, I thought that was almost too much room for me, other than all the stuff that we get. But being a pack rat, getting rid of that stuff was just very, very difficult for me.
I think I've been one of those fortunate people that always knew that money wasn't going to make me any happier, the degree wasn't going to make me any happier, the new car, any of that. I think I only get tripped up about relationship. Relationship will make me happier. But I'm even learning that it all comes back to me in my own life, and when I'm to really be, not to seek love, but to be love.
There aren't that many people that want to give up their toys, their stuff. They're attached to their things. That's what I find, is people have houses and they fill them up and they just can't do without this and I can't do without that. Things. I don't. Our society is so materialistic oriented that it takes a certain kind of person to be able to just chuck that all and not have a house. There aren't too many people that can do that.
It was too much money, it was too much time, it was too much effort. Just mowing the grass and clipping the hedges. Now that really got me a long ways. All that time I spent doing that. For what?
We're just trying to push ourselves, seeing what we can go through, what we can go without. And because if we want to go to other countries, some of them don't have showers, some of them don't have hot water even. So it's just pushing the limits, figuring out what's really important. And when we do come back to the States, it's easier to appreciate it.
Bernanke said last month at a press conference these are basically made-up numbers. And he's right. Yeah. I mean, they're basically made-up numbers. It's just a shame you didn't feel that way in 2005.
The reality
right?
is you have these number crunchers in the government. We have to wrap this thing up. And they're saying inflation's not such a big problem. And the Fed
takes that and says, "Oh, great, inflation's not such a big problem." But when the three of us go out to the supermarket, inflation's a problem. It is, and you look at your wages. Right. I know the three of us do great, and we get huge salary, but yeah. Right. I don't even look at my bank account anymore. But I mean, for most people in America, wages are going nowhere, prices are going up. I mean, it's a real world problem. Is your bottom line, right? Of course, yeah.
Since I had been a municipal worker for not just Chandler but also for Mesa, I had an account with the Arizona State Retirement Fund for years. I took possession of that account. It's not much, but that's what I'm living off of. I try to keep my expenses under $500 a month, and if I have things figured out right, then about the time that I'm able to draw Social Security, that's going to run out.
Man, I could spend more, but my expenditures are less than $600 a month for everything: food, clothing, shelter.
I get $630 a month. That's what I'm living on. I have, of course, some backup money, some savings. But I do my absolute best not to touch that.
Most of the time we're mildly successful with just sticking by an actual budget per month. So, for a long period of time, it was $100 a month or $150 a month that we dedicate towards gas. So, the volatility of the gas prices, the main thing that would affect would be the distance that we can travel from place to place or over a period of time.
And how long we stay somewhere.
And so it may just mean that we're leaving the van parked for a week longer than what we would have previously anticipated, and forcing us just to explore our environment that much more. So
that makes us stop more often, because we know driving 4 hours every day or 8 hours every day is going to eat up that gas.
At this point in time, I have a real hard time understanding why a lot of my friends in the Phoenix area are still paying for the damn house. It's like, folks, you're paying half to 3/4 of your income to support this building. That you use, you use this chair when they're in the evening when you're watching TV, you use the kitchen for a half hour a day, and you use your bed. Why are you paying for the rest of it? With the utilities, which are pretty much compulsory, and water and everything else. You could do the same thing if you're smart in a stealth van setup and be saving yourself $800-900 a month minimum, depending on how new their house is or apartment or whatsoever. I have a real hard time with that. Even if I get to the point where I'm working full time, I certainly won't go out and get an apartment. I don't see myself buying a house ever again. I'll just live in the vehicle. And then all that additional, money that I'm not spending for compulsory bills is mine to do whatever. So I have a hard time understanding why someone wouldn't walk away from a lot of that.
I think there's a lot of people that are feeling hopeless when they could have hope. And I think some people just have not done the math. They don't even understand this possibility.
I personally think that the big news, the news that could revolutionize the world, could save humanity, is the good news that frugality is possible. The good life can be had for peanuts. That's my message. And if people who are now spending the poverty level is $22,000 a year, and the truth is you can live like a king on $11,000. The truth is you can live like a king on $5,000 a year, and I have friends who do it.
For the first basically full year was almost entirely on savings. It was kind of a combination of the savings that we built up over our 6-month preparation, and then we did some trade work. We built websites in exchange for places to stay mainly, and then we've done a few different freelance websites that have helped us get a little bit of extra income.
Right now, there are 9 people in tents and vans around me where I'm camped. They're just people I love, and we've connected. And I don't see a lot of them, but when we see each other, it's like we've never been apart. And so oddly enough, I believe the hermits live in houses today. I won't put you on the spot and ask you how many of your neighbors do you know, really know, but I bet it's not many, and if you do, you're the exception and not the rule. And yet if you ask me how many deeply connected friends do I have who live in vans, I would tell you dozens. So I believe we're the mentally healthy ones.
Oh, yes, absolutely. For me, it comes down to, with people who are virtual friends, whether I know them previously or not, is I'm sharing their lives, right? But I'm not with them. I'm sharing the memories they're making. They're telling me about their day-to-day. But with us in the Quest for a Community Caravan, we're making memories. Okay,
as opposed to sharing.
As opposed to sharing.
Yeah.
And so that weaves a tapestry of experience that connects us in a richer way.
Yes. Write that down before. That's excellent.
That is.
I'll borrow that from you.
Yeah, feel free to what do we do when you borrow something from me? Quote me.
I think we need people, and I think that whatever there is about me that's unusual or interesting, I borrowed it all from my friends. I have an amazing set of friends. And the electronic age makes it possible to be in touch with, those people. My readers give me great instructions.
It's reaffirmed my faith in humanity, because you get out and you meet all kinds of people, and people are 99.9% honest, good, people. And we don't see that on the news. Everybody's scared because of what they see on the news. All you see is the bad stuff that the bad people do.
Daniel Gardner is the author of The Science of Fear. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning.
There is a lot to be afraid of. You have child abductions, school shootings, terrorism. Why do you call them irrational fears?
In the book, I say that there are basically three factors at work in our risk perceptions. Number one is the media.
News is very much about sensationalizing information, right? We want people to watch it, and so we're going to try to get it very sensationalized, which then affects our emotions. When it affects our emotions, it gives us a response, whether it's going to be anxiety in this case, and then that's going to affect our thought process. And so it's going to have us start developing the what ifs.
Our world is terrifying, and it's all we can do to cope with it. And as it speeds up with technology, it becomes more terrifying every day. And that's why we go home, we get off work, we go home, we shut the door, we lock the door, we bar the door, how many locks we have on our houses, and turn on the alarm system, and we stay there. And we're terrified as human beings. Our world is terrifying, and we're not even knowing. None of us have an idea. Why do we do drugs? Why are we so tranquilized? It's a horrible, terrifying world, and we're just trying to be safe.
I know a lot of people, especially single women my age, oh, my kids would never let me do that. I don't understand that. Why would they be listening to what their kids say? I don't know.
Fear is something you just have to look past, and really just going out and doing it is the easiest way to get past the fear. If it's something you're thinking about doing, just definitely chase your dreams. There shouldn't be anything that holds you back from your dreams.
People do worry about me. You're a woman traveling alone, I've never had a problem. 7 years. I haven't had a problem. I sleep with right here with this beautiful sight and those cool nights. I sleep with my door open. Can you believe that? Would I do that at home? I got a neighbor there, a nice neighbor there. It's a beautiful, cool evening, Screen door, that's it. Every place I park, I wouldn't, of course. But a lot of places I can feel that comfortable and that safe.
And I'm not afraid out here. There's no fear in my life. And I think, why am I so open and welcoming? Because I'm not ruled by fear. Fear isn't a dominant part of my life. Now I hear something, I'm afraid. I hear voices, I hear shots. Am I going to get shot at? Is there a bullet going to whiz by? I have normal fear. If you don't have fear, something's really seriously wrong. My life isn't dominated by fear. And you're welcome into my camp because I'm not afraid of you.
I want to change the subject for a second. Oh, okay. And I mentioned it to Chris briefly, but I thought we could have another Quest for Caravan challenge. Okay, so it's now and then we have the challenges, and this challenge would be we would just choose to see who could last the longest with the food they have in hand. No going shopping. Just see who can go the longest with their stores
with whatever they have in
on
stock.
hand.
How long do you think
you
could go? Oh, I could go a long time. Amazing.
And I think I could beat everybody.
You think you could beat everybody? Really?
Because I have
a lot of food on
I have like survival stuff, like backpackers food in my car too, like a big, about 30 pounds.
Oh my God! You're carrying 30 pounds of food?
I know. That's
you know that costs you money in gasoline for every pound you carry.
How much? Do the math.
I don't know, but it costs everything you put in there. It costs you money to move from one spot to another.
Well, that's why I want to have this challenge, so I can lighten my load.
And I feel, everything hinges on love, that willingness to open our hearts to one another and not come from a fearful place. And that's what my life is built on. And I wouldn't be doing the work I do now and singing songs about what it takes to walk the path of the heart, what we need to release as much as what we need to embrace.
It is. I think the contrast is the amazing part of it. You know, I have a generator and a microwave and toaster and a sun oven, and yet here I'm living in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this is not a bad place to live. Right over there, and I mean right over there, probably not even a mile away, are $1 million homes. And I get everything they get, and I don't have a $1 million home payment. So you got to follow the rules, and we have rejected the rules. We're not living in a house. We're not looking for a better house. Some of us aren't even looking for jobs.
I really don't think more than half the people have to work. I believe the unemployment rate should be somewhere around 50%. Because the Industrial Revolution has freed us. We can do it. I live off so little, and I'm happy.
Just enjoying life. That's, it's going to take some time, but it happens. It happens. I'm home, safe. I'm happy.
This is something that's definitely a viable way of life, and even if it's not right for them to, sell all their stuff and go travel or live in a van, the idea here is definitely that if you have a dream, chase it. And we try to share that message with as many people as possible. That just because something sounds outlandish doesn't mean that you should just write it off. That there's a lot of crazy things we can do that make us happy.
The time is this. That's what you have. Spend it wisely. Choose your life. Don't let life choose a path. Somebody else choose your path. Choose how you spend your time.
It's been about 35 years since I've done a day's work. I hope that inspires some people. It's possible to actually be free.
There's something that goes away. It's leaking like a faucet. I never knew I lost it until I wake up old and gray. And every day I wake up and see my face. The reflection is familiar, just dustier and blurrier. So suddenly a stranger shakes my hand. Chase the breeze, 'cause you're never gonna catch it. Can't stop the seas when the waves come crashing. Can't hold your dreams when the sunlight fills the room. When you're asleep, when you're awake, the sum of every breath you take, invisible but slowly multiply.